Just when it seemed like Rangers' transfer window was drifting quietly towards its conclusion, the mood inside Ibrox has shifted in dramatic fashion. What looked like a settled plan has been thrown into overdrive after a sudden change of direction. Behind the scenes opened the door for an unexpected arrival. And not just any arrival. This could be the kind of signing that forces Russell Martin to rip up a few pages of his playbook and start drawing up new ideas for the season ahead. With the clock ticking and the summer market entering its final, Stretch the Rangers hierarchy are now moving with urgency to get this deal wrapped up before anyone else gets a sniff. Few people saw this coming, and that's exactly what makes it so intriguing. Now, before diving into the details of the potential signing, we need to address the bigger picture, because the last 24 hours around Rangers have been anything but quiet. And as much as new transfers get the fans buzzing, the reality on the pitch is painting a slightly more complicated picture. Take Saturday, for example. Another frustrating afternoon, where the old storylines played out yet again. Cirio, the experienced 30-year-old striker, once more found himself wailed out in front of the microphones after points were dropped. It's become almost a ritual at this point. Different managers, different formations, different excuses. But the same outcome. This time it was a 1-1 draw against Dundee at Ibrox, and while that might not sound like a crisis on paper, it's the context that makes it sting. The worst part, this wasn't some weary end-of-season dead rubber. This was right at the start of Russell Martin's tenure, a period where momentum is supposed to be building, not slipping away. And it wasn't as if Rangers were up against an opponent riding high on confidence either. Dundee had arrived in Glasgow, already dumped out of the League Cup and hardly in sparkling form. The expectation was a comfortable home win, a routine. 3 points. And yet the match quickly developed the kind of lethargic, flat atmosphere that has haunted Rangers under more than one regime. There was even a moment of late drama. Desires thought he'd nicked the winner in stoppage time only, for VAR to step in and chalk it off. The striker cut a visibly dejected figure, afterwards his answers peppered with long pauses, as if searching for a way to explain what is starting to feel like a recurring pattern. He admitted the first half was good in terms of possession, but accepted that they simply didn't create enough clear chances. That's been the theme too often: neat build-up without the killer instinct. The idea, of course, is to build on a solid first half, especially when you know a side like Dundee will tire as the match wears on. Instead, Rangers made life needlessly difficult for themselves after the interval, only sparking into something resembling urgency once they were down to 10 men following Naraj's red card around the hour mark. And here's the point that will be keeping Russell Martin awake at night. Why does it take a crisis moment for his side to find their bite? James Tavernier's penalty in the 90th minute after JD Gassama was brought down in the box at least salvaged the point. But there was no fairy tale turnaround, no injury time winner to flip the mood. When asked about the chronic slow starts, Desires gave the sort of answer supporters have heard many times. A call for a bit more aggression, a bit more courage to try the difficult pass instead of the safe option. A reminder that if they can raise the intensity when down to 10 men, they should be able to do it from the first whistle in an 11 versus 11 game. It's not that the players don't understand what's wrong. It's that they haven't yet found a way to consistently put it right. And in a club like Rangers, time is a luxury nobody really has. You can talk about betting in a new manager and giving players a chance to adapt to fresh ideas, but the reality is that the fans have been here before. They've seen the movie and they know how it ends unless something changes quickly. Desires even touched on the contrast between Rangers' performances in Europe and in the domestic league. In Europe, there's often more bravery on the ball, more willingness to take a risk that might open up space. In the Premiership, they can look hesitant, almost as if waiting for the game to come to them. He admitted that belief and confidence play a huge part, and that at this club, with its expectations and impatience, you simply have to find that spark inside yourself. There's no room to hide. And that brings us neatly back to the transfer front, because Russell Martin clearly knows he still needs more tools to work with. And that's why this sudden twist in the market could be so significant. In a move nobody quite predicted, Rangers are on the brink of agreeing a deal with Real Betis for young defender Nobel Mendy. Yes, even after a summer where signings have been coming through the door thick and fast, the Ibrox recruitment drive is not over yet. Sources in Spain and Scotland suggest talks are well advanced, with the fee expected to be in the region of £5 million. Mendy, just 20 years old, is said to be keen on making the move to Glasgow. On paper, he ticks a lot of boxes for Martin. A natural centre back who can also slot in at left back, he offers exactly the kind of flexibility that's priceless over a long, grueling season. Given that cover on both flanks has been a persistent headache, his arrival could help plug more than one gap. But let's not pretend there's no gamble involved. Mendy's top-level resume is thin, only half a dozen senior appearances for Betis, and the step up to the physical, fast-paced demands of Scottish football will be a steep learning curve. And there's also the financial side to consider. With Rangers already reporting a £7 million loss in 2024 splashing out, that kind of fee on a player with limited experience is bound to raise eyebrows. That said, Rangers are betting on potential here. At his age, with his athleticism and raw defensive instincts, Mendy could be molded into a cornerstone of the backline for years to come. The coaching staff clearly believe they can give him the right environment to grow. For Martin, it's the definition of a calculated risk. One that could shore up a defense that's looked vulnerable, or one that could be thrown back at him if results don't improve. And all this is happening while another potential headache brews in a position that's been causing problems for years, left back. Neither Ridvan Yilmaz nor Borna Barisic's replacement, Jeff Day, managed to nail the spot down last season. Now, reports from Brazil claim Palmeiras are in talks to sign Jeff with figures between £4.3 and £5.1 million being floated. Losing him would leave Yilmaz as the only recognized senior left back, and even his future isn't rock solid. It's a precarious situation. Yilmaz hasn't featured in a competitive match under Martin, raising doubts about whether he fits into the manager's plans. Sure, Max Aarons can fill in on the left in theory, but his struggles against Facundo Pellistri in the Panathinaikos tie showed that's not a long-term solution. Time is running out fast. The transfer window slams shut on the 1st of September, just 3 weeks to not only get Mendy over the line, but also find a way to plug the gaps elsewhere. The squad, for all the new faces already added, still feels incomplete. And in Scottish football, the season doesn't wait for you to get your house in order. While the Nobel Mendy story has taken center stage, the undercurrent of frustration in the stands and on the pitch can't be ignored. The truth is, Rangers find themselves in a familiar storm, caught between the promise of what could be and the harsh reality of what's unfolding. Russell Martin's start hasn't been a disaster, but it hasn't been the convincing momentum-building run supporters were craving either. In football, especially at a club of this size, there's no such thing as a quiet betting period. Every dropped point is a headline. Every hesitant performance is a talking point. The mood after the Dundee match summed it up perfectly. There was no outright rage, but there was that simmering, exasperated frustration that only comes from seeing the same script play out time and again. Slow start possession without penetration, flashes of energy once the game is already in trouble, and finally a late rally that feels more like damage control than a show of dominance. It's a pattern that doesn't just vanish with a few new signings. It's ingrained in the psychology of the group. And that's something Martin has to address head on. He's spoken openly about wanting to instill bravery on the ball, about his desire for players to take the risky pass or drive forward instead of recycling possession endlessly. But the shift from safety first to proactive football is easier said than done, especially in a league where every opponent is drilled to frustrate you and then pounce on the counter. At Rangers, that challenge is magnified by expectation. Drawing. A game where you had 70% possession is not seen as a tactical balance. It's seen as a failure to impose yourself. And that's where the Mendy deal becomes so intriguing. It's not just about adding another body to the squad. It's about the kind of player he could become and how he might influence the overall shape and mentality of the team. At just 20, he's unscarred by the cycles of frustration that have worn down others in the dressing room. If he can adapt, quickly he could bring a freshness, resilience that spreads through the backline. Of course, defenders at Ibrox are judged on more than just their tackling and positioning. They need to be comfortable on the ball, capable of starting attacks, and brave enough to push the line high when chasing a result. That's where the gamble lies with Mendy. His limited experience means he hasn't yet faced the weekly demand of dominating weaker sides while staying sharp against quick breaks. The Scottish Premiership is unforgiving in that sense. One lapse against a so-called smaller team can undo 90 minutes of control. Meanwhile, the left-back saga continues to hang over everything like a storm cloud. Jeff Day's potential departure to Palmeiras would leave a hole that can't be patched with makeshift solutions for long. Ridvan Yilmaz might on paper be the answer, but if the manager doesn't trust him, or if the player himself isn't fully committed to staying, then it's only a matter of time before that position becomes a full-blown crisis. In seasons past, Rangers have been caught short in exactly this way, trying to paper over defensive cracks while juggling European and domestic commitments. The result is often the same, a promising campaign derailed by injuries and fatigue at key positions. Martin's situation is complicated further by the financial reality. That reported £7 million loss this year doesn't just hang over the club's accounts, it seeps into every transfer negotiation, every budget discussion, every long-term plan. You can't throw money at every problem. Each signing has to be strategic, and that's why losing Jeff without a ready-made replacement would be a nightmare scenario. It would force the club into the market late at a time when sellers know you're desperate and prices inevitably spike. The timing of all this couldn't be more critical. The first Old Firm clash is looming on the horizon, and everyone knows those matches have the power to shape the narrative of an entire season. Go into that game with defensive uncertainty, and you're not just risking drop points, you're risking a shift in momentum that can be hard to claw back. Celtic, for all their own issues, will be ready to exploit any sign of weakness. For the supporters, there's a sense of deja vu in watching these stories unfold. The names change, the managers change, but the themes remain frustratingly similar. Moments of promise undone by inconsistency. Recruitment drives that look impressive on paper, but fail to fully solve the core issues. It's why patience is running thin even before the season's fully settled into its rhythm. Still, Martin isn't shying away from the challenge. He's been clear about his expectations about wanting to see the same courage and intensity in the Premiership that the team shows in Europe. In Europe, Rangers often look liberated, as if the weight of domestic expectation has been lifted. They play with more freedom, more willingness to take risks to stretch opponents. The question is why that same approach can't be replicated on a cold Saturday afternoon against Dundee or St. Mirren. One possible answer lies in mentality. In Europe, there's no assumption of dominance. Rangers approach those games knowing they'll need to fight for every inch, knowing that the opposition can hurt them. In the league, there's an expectation that they should win simply by turning up, and that can lead to the kind of complacency that's so hard to shake once it sets in. Mendy's arrival, if and when it's confirmed, won't fix all that on its own. But it could be a statement that Martin is thinking beyond the next game, beyond the immediate frustration. A young, versatile defender who can be developed into a leader over time signals a willingness to build something sustainable, not just scramble for short-term patches. The flip side is that the clock is merciless. The window closes on the 1st of September, and between now and then, Rangers not only need to finalize Mendy's signing, but also address the left-back issue, maintain focus in the league, and keep progressing. In Europe, it's a lot to juggle for any manager, let alone one still embedding his ideas and building trust with his squad. Every decision made in these next few weeks will ripple through the season. Get it right, and Rangers could emerge from September looking far more balanced and confident. Get it wrong, and the pressure could crank up to uncomfortable levels before the autumn leaves have even started to fall. The reality is that in Glasgow football, the margins between those two outcomes are razor thin, and so we watch the final stretch of this transfer window with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Mendy might be the headline, but the real story is whether Rangers can finally break the cycle that's been holding them back. Russell Martin's reign is still in its infancy, but already the familiar questions are being asked. The answers will come not in press conferences or transfer announcements, but in the performances on the pitch starting now. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Word around the Ibrox corridors is that Connor Cody, the seasoned centre half with a reputation for leadership, is edging ever closer to penning a deal with Rangers, sending a ripple of chatter through Glasgow's blue half. While no official word has trickled down from the club's hierarchy, several well-placed sources insist the former Wolves captain has been spotted north of the border in recent days, potentially finalizing terms. The idea of Cody trading the English leagues for a crack at the Scottish Premiership has set tongues wagging among pundits and fans alike, especially given his track record as a vocal organizer at the back. Rangers supporters, who have long craved a commanding figure to marshal the defense, are already imagining him barking orders on match days, clad in the famous royal blue. Some whispers even suggest his arrival could be part of a broader reshuffle, orchestrated by the manager, aimed at injecting fresh steel into the spine of the team ahead of a crucial run-in. Whether this is a done deal or just a footballing grapevine running wild remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: Cody's name is firmly in the conversation, and few rumors gather pace without a spark of truth. The possibility of Cody slipping seamlessly into a Rangers shirt has also stirred talk about the captain's armband, a subject always guaranteed to ignite debate among the Ibrox faithful. Current skipper James Tavernier remains a fan favorite, but there are quiet murmurs suggesting the gaffer might fancy a change to freshen up the leadership dynamic. Cody's tenure at Wolves, where he was the heartbeat of the dressing room, saw him earn plaudits for his authority both on and off the pitch. His booming voice, knack for rallying teammates, and no-nonsense approach could well make him a natural contender for the role. Football insiders point out that in high-stakes environments like Rangers, having multiple leaders on the park can be a blessing, especially in European fixtures where discipline and structure are paramount. There's no certainty that Tavernier would be stripped of his duties, yet speculation about shared or rotated captaincy roles has surfaced in the press. Some fans are hesitant about such a move, fearing it could disrupt established harmony, while others believe it might spark a healthy competition for standards. If Cody does indeed arrive and is handed the armband, it would mark one of the boldest leadership calls in recent Rangers history. A decision that would send a clear message about the club's ambitions and readiness for the challenges ahead. Behind closed doors, the prospect of bringing in a defender of Cody's caliber is being discussed not only for his tactical nous, but also for the psychological lift it could provide the entire squad. Rangers' recent performances, though spirited, have shown flashes of vulnerability at the back, leading some to argue that a seasoned organizer is the missing puzzle piece. Cody's defensive reading, coupled with his ability to communicate effectively, could help tighten the lines and reduce the soft goals conceded in recent matches. Moreover, his experience in high-pressure situations, from Premier League relegation battles to England caps, could be invaluable in the heated cauldron of Old Firm derbies. Reports suggest that several senior players are privately in favor of his signing, recognizing the benefits his presence could bring to training intensity and matchday focus. However, as with any major acquisition, questions about wage demands, contract length, and his adaptability to Scottish football persist. Rangers have been linked with other defensive targets, but none with Cody's leadership pedigree, making this potential deal all the more intriguing. If negotiations advance as rumored, the dressing room dynamic could soon be in for a significant shift, with Cody at its very heart. From a tactical standpoint, Cody's arrival would likely prompt subtle but significant tweaks to Rangers' defensive structure. Known for his preference to operate in a back three during his Wolves days, the defender's comfort in multiple formations could give the manager greater flexibility in setting up against both domestic and European opponents. Analysts note that Rangers have at times looked exposed when fullbacks push forward, leaving central defenders isolated. Cody's positional discipline and leadership could counteract that vulnerability. There's also the potential for his presence to accelerate the development of younger defenders in the squad, who could benefit from his mentorship. While adapting to the tempo and physicality of the Scottish Premiership might require adjustment, Cody's combative style suggests he could relish the challenge. Opponents may soon find fewer gaps to exploit, and goalkeepers might enjoy a calmer afternoon with his organizational skills in play. Of course, these are all projections based on the assumption the deal crosses the line, but the buzz suggests the coaching staff are already considering how best to integrate him. Should this rumor solidify into reality, Rangers might be on the cusp of a defensive overhaul that's been quietly brewing for months. Fans, as ever, remain divided in their interpretations of the swirling reports. Some see the Cody chatter as nothing more than the press stirring the pot during a quiet news cycle, while others believe it's the first step in a transformative period for the club. Social media is awash with mock-ups of the defender and Rangers. Home kit, comments ranging from tongue-in-cheek jokes about his Scouse accent echoing through Ibrox to earnest predictions of him lifting silverware. Meanwhile, rival supporters have been quick to question whether his style will suit the Scottish game, with some pointing to the mixed fortunes of English imports in recent years. Yet those doubts only seem to fuel the intrigue, making each passing day without an official announcement feel like part of a calculated build-up. Whatever the truth, it's undeniable that Cody's name has added a layer of drama to the summer rumor mill, providing endless talking points for pubs, podcasts, and pundit panels. Whether he becomes the next in a line of inspired Rangers, signings, or another what might have been tale will soon be revealed. But until then, the speculation shows no signs of losing steam. Greetings, man. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated. By Rangers FC, and don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.